This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors. The Outdoor Journey Show with Matt Gaddis and Ty Morgan, brought to you by Journey Hunts and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
Matt Gaddis and Ty Morgan with the Outdoor Journey Show. Ty, this week, another beautiful subject matter for us to talk about, the allure of Africa.
I have to say I'm a little jealous because you have gotten to go, and I've heard so many amazing stories about Africa, and that allure, as you would say, it's a perfect word for it because you just want to go experience it, of all things. And I've never heard horror stories coming back. It's always like, wow, what an experience.
Absolutely. I can remember back sitting in the day some 20 years ago in Pennsylvania and sitting at the Garage Rats Archery Club, and yes, that was the real name.
Yeah.
And we used to sit and talk about the dream of going to Africa, and it's been an allure of mine ever since then. And then in the past few years, I've been able to fulfill that. And I think it's important because in the outdoor community, there are many people who dream of Africa and just don't think it's possible.
Well, the expense. You think about that, it's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be $10,000 and $20,000. Honestly, at first blush, I would think, man, there's no way I could come up with 20 or 30 grand to do a hunt like that, because that's what it's got to be. You go to these hunting banquets, and that's what they sell for.
Right.
And you're going, there's no way I'm in on that. What is the reality there?
Well, and that's the first misperception. It always comes back to money. That is the first thing. It's too expensive for me to go to Africa is usually the first thought I have. And the truth of the matter is, for the price of a Western elk hunt, now that's hard for you and I to fathom because we walk out the door and we're on BLM or up on forest property and we go and hunt. But for like my friends from Pennsylvania who come out here, pay for a guided hunt, spend in all $7-8 grand. For that same price, you go to Africa and you can shoot one tremendously large animal, or you can shoot 10 or 12 smaller, incredibly beautiful animals. For the price of an elk hunt is what I always tell people, you can absolutely have a killer blast in Africa.
Well, that is new news to me.
Yeah, it is. It is. And people have that misperception about expense. The other big one I get often is the danger, and South Africa, which is where I go, although you can go other places. South Africa to me is very different from the rest of Africa. It just is. It's very much like here. There are some nuances to South Africa, just like anywhere else you would go in the world. But I have never been in South Africa and felt any more danger than I would when I'm in Johannesburg in any other city in the U.S. And definitely when you're out in the bush, when you're actually out on safari, I have never felt in danger at all, other than a lion charging. That's just one of the nuances that you don't necessarily have to put yourself in that situation. But, I've never really felt in danger. There are no required immunizations. It's recommended that you take malaria. I never have. Not telling anybody else that they shouldn't, but I have never taken anything in all the trips that I've gone, and I've taken my entire family. My wife and my daughter, I've sent them alone to South Africa. And so there is really a misperception there in the area of danger too. The big subject matter also is the fact that all South Africa is fenced. The majority of South Africa is fenced. And the reason it's fenced is because we are trying to grow, and it's one of the best quality management programs in the world. They are protecting those animals because there's not enough food and there's not enough water in South Africa.
Okay.
And so if these landowners do not provide water and food, these animals will absolutely die. And the proof of the matter is the surrounding countries right now, many of them have stopped hunting in the last 3 years. And for example, Tanzania, some of Botswana, they've cut off all hunting. Their populations are down 75% in just 3 years because if nobody's managing the animals, they die. They absolutely die.
Do they see an influx of poaching? Just a side note there because of that?
Yeah, they do. And what happens is as soon as the care for the game goes out of hand and people stop caring for the game, poachers come in and they capitalize on that. And that's a huge reason that population has gone down. The fencing there keeps poachers out. The fencing there keeps animals in. It doesn't prevent your leopards, your cheetahs, your lions from coming in and out. Everybody thinks it does, but on every safari, I see leopard tracks. It's just part of what's there. They can go and come as they please, so it doesn't stop that. And you have to understand, too, we're not talking about 40 acres with hand-fed deer.
Right.
That's what we
tens
think
of thousands.
Of. Oh, absolutely. You have 3, 5, 7, 10, 30, 60,000 acres, that are fenced in. And believe me, everything is very, very wild. Very wild.
Now, and it's got to be some big business for them. I mean, that's got to be an amazing moneymaker as well as a food supplier because
Absolutely.
I've heard that you don't get to take the food with you. That actually goes to the communities, the local tribes, communities, and everything.
Absolutely. Hunting is the second greatest industry in South Africa next to mining. I mean, they're known for mining. Hunting is the second industry. And so there are thousands and thousands of jobs that are created directly through the hunting industry. And then because of the money that comes in, tons of other jobs that are supplied. And for example, the safari that I hunt with, Sadiba Nkwe Hunting Safaris, they have a sister property that's also owned by the same owner called Sadiba Kwele. And what that is a children's camp. And so all of the meat that comes through our hunters at Sadiba Nkwe, all of that meat that is not eaten in camp, and believe me, you want to eat it while you're there. I mean, we ate a ton of the different species while we're there, and it's all very good. But what's left over all gets donated and feeds that children's camp for an entire year. And many of the kids that come there are impoverished kids from the city who have never had any experience, and they get a full week of protein, and it's instrumental, in their life without a doubt. So
that's pretty amazing.
Good opportunity. Our title sponsor, the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, here in America, in North America, huge on conservation. And the fact that the hunter is the ultimate conservationist,
right.
You see that firsthand in Africa. I mean, their quality management program is as good as anything I have ever encountered anywhere in the world. And it's built on hunting because the hunter is the conservationist. So it's a good thing.
I mean, too many animals, that's no food, dead animals. I mean, it's a pretty easy math equation if you put it all together. You know?
If you think about it from an intellectual and intelligent standpoint, yes, it is. But if you come into it emotionally, and there's a lot of emotion built around Africa, there is. When you start talking about lions and elephants, and if you show harvest pictures on Facebook of those things, people get up in arms, and it's really miseducation.
Right.
I can tell you on one of our properties, which is not fenced, it's a river property right on the Limpopo River, the elephants are so overrun in that area because Botswana, which is right on the other side of the river, has stopped hunting. They have come in and just trashed the trees and the food source for all the other animals. They are overrun. And so we've got to have accurate information and understand that conservation needs to take place for all animals.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. This Allure of Africa got me a few years ago. I had the privilege of going a few years ago, and I admit that I had some of the misperceptions. And going there really changed all of that. And up to this point, I've been able to harvest 18 different animals and 15 different species.
Wow.
And I'm not a wealthy guy, Todd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I work hard for what I do. I plan hard. I save hard. But I've been able to do that over there. And, this most recent trip, I had the privilege of hunting the largest antelope in South Africa, which is an eland. It's 2,000 to 2,200 pounds.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a
huge,
big animal.
Here's the amazing thing: a 10-foot fence does not keep it in. Oh, they can jump a 10-foot fence. Most amazing animal.
Wow.
I actually watched one a few years ago hit the top of a 10-foot fence, bend it back, and it was brought back in. But they can clear a 10-foot fence, and they're amazing. And I was able to shoot that with my bear archery Anarchy HC and my Black Eagle arrows. We've had Randy Kitts on the show as a guest, and that Black Eagle deep impact arrow just drilled that 2,200-pound animal and was perfect.
Just to pause there for a moment. You mentioned you do bow hunting. From a rifle to a bow. Is it any different in a hunt in Africa versus a hunt, with a bow here, hunting an elk?
Well, it is a little bit different, but not completely different. If you sit here on a water source and you sit on a wallow here, you're hunting the same way you would hunt there. Although maybe here you're in a tree stand, up in an aspen. There, you're sitting in a blind. And everything in Africa, just like here, but because it's limited water source, everything has to drink.
Right.
And so for a bow hunter, it is a bow haven. There's nowhere better because the blinds are all set up so that you're 16 to 25 yards to the water source. And so you've got water and food, and those animals are going to come and drink and going. It's not uncommon to see 70 animals in a sit in a morning or an evening, and you never know what's going to show up. That's the excitement to me. You don't know whether you're going to see a kudu, an eland. You don't know whether you're going to see a giraffe, whether a lion's going to come in, a leopard. You just don't know.
Now, with the lion coming in, that might make you tense up a little bit, I guess is a better way to put it.
The only time I've seen a lion myself on my trips is the 2 times we were hunting them. So, I mean, that's the only time that I've seen a lion personally. So understand that, it's not an everyday occurrence. But like I said, I see leopard tracks every time I'm there. I've not seen a leopard yet. Hopefully one of these trips we'll actually get to hunt one and see one, so it'll be a cool deal.
Kind of a fun thing.
A trip to Africa, really, going back to the money thing, a middle-class American individual who loves hunting, if they plan right, they can make it there. And that's really what I want to stress. You can make it to Africa and you can fulfill your life desire to hunt there. I've got people who do that all the time.
One of our coworkers, for her husband did the hunting, but just the photography side of seeing these animals and shooting them in a different angle, which is with that camera lens, was just as much enjoyment for her. So to say that it's only a man's world, if your wife or girlfriend, whatever, doesn't hunt, it's still an experience of a lifetime to take them along with you.
Yeah, Journey Hunt's first 2 groups this year of the year were 2 complete families. 5 people, 3 kids obviously, and a husband, wife, and 2. So our first 2 groups were not hunters. The men were, and the ladies ended up hunting, which happens often when you get there, but they were not going there for hunting. So yeah, it's for everybody, and there's just so much to see. In our second part of our show, we're going to have Chuck Schaefer in, and Chuck is one of those guys who worked really hard, planned hard, saved hard in order to experience Africa.
Looking forward to it. And with him in just a moment.
This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors. The Outdoor Journey Show with Matt Gatus and Ty Morgan, brought to you by Journey Hunts and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors. The Outdoor Journey Show with Matt Gatus and Ty Morgan, brought to you by Journey Hunts and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
Welcome back to the Outdoor Journey Show. Matt Gatus, Ty Morgan here with you. And, before we get started with Chuck here in our interview, but we want to talk about the Hunter's Mailbag. And we've encouraged people, if you have questions about the show, to email Matt at JourneyHunts.com. And if we pull your email out and answer it, you'll get a complimentary knife from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and your question answered.
Absolutely. Our question this week is from Mike Erickson from Montana. And Mike asked, what bow would he start his 14-year-old son on who has not been involved in archery? And last week, Ty, we talked about bows and equipment, and we talked about Bear Archery and some of the great products they have. They have a bow that's brand new for 2014. It's actually labeled as 2015, but it's released now.
Sure.
And it's called the Cruiser. And this bow allows you to go from 5 pounds to 70 pounds and a draw length all the way up to 30 inches. Incredible starter bow. It comes with a ready-to-hunt package, everything you need, and it's not a toy. It can grow with him, and it could be the only bow he would ever shoot, or someday down the road, 3, 4, 5 years, he can upgrade and go to whatever he wants.
It allows him some growth. Again, if you've got a question about today's show, you can certainly email, again, Matt at JourneyHunts.com.
One of the privileges that I have, Ty, is I get to take, through my Journey Hunts business, I get to take people all over the world to hunt. And the privilege I have is seeing people go to a place for the first time in their life.
Right.
And there's an incredible excitement that comes with that. You and I are going to experience that, by the way, in Africa sometime coming up.
Sometime.
We're gonna get you over there. So we're going to get that done. I had the privilege just 3 weeks ago of taking Chuck Schaefer on his first trip out of the country to South Africa. And we have Chuck here in the studio with us. Chuck, welcome.
Thank you.
Chuck, just, you got to go to South Africa. You had to work for it. You had to plan for it. You had to save for it. Tell us a little bit about your journey to get to South Africa.
My journey to get there started at a party that Matt threw. He throws various parties around the country just to advertise Sadiba Nkwe and Journey Hunts. Saw how affordable it was, and I was blown away because it's been a dream of mine for the last 15 years probably to get to Africa. I talked to my wife about it and said, we need to start saving for this. Well, she surprised me by buying an auction hunt, which included 3 animals. It was an impala, a warthog, and a blue wildebeest. And so that was the start of my journey. And from there, we saved diligently for about a year and a half to get all the supplies that I needed, the extra arrows, broadheads, and all that to actually go. And airline tickets, of course, which is the most expensive part of the trip.
Absolutely. Now, Chuck, all that planning, all that time, was it worth it?
Absolutely. 100% worth it. Do it again in a heartbeat.
How was your safari? Tell us a little bit about it.
My safari was great. Saw more animals than I ever dreamed I would see. Like Matt said earlier, up to 70, 100 animals in one sitting. Incredible. I was surprised with the weather. Weather affects animals differently there. Cloudy days, you don't see animals there. It was different.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So what, do they just kind of bog down and just chill out for the day? Because no sun, they don't need as much water.
That's exactly right. Because it's a water food driven hunt. So that's exactly right.
But it was incredible. We had great weather. all but about 3 days. Lows in the upper 30s, low 40s, and highs in the 70s. It was perfect.
Yeah, dry, arid country. So, I mean, just perfect. Absolutely wonderful. What about the hunting? Tell us about the hunting side of the house, Chuck.
The hunting is incredible. Like I said, you see so many animals. Unfortunately, you're forced to make some snap decisions occasionally. You go with a very strict plan, and sometimes that just doesn't work.
Now, when you say a snap decision, meaning it's like, okay, that's your animal, you got to take him now kind of
Yes.
deal? Or we can get you another one tomorrow. Don't take that one.
If the right animal walks in, you just know it. You know you have to shoot it. I had a kudu walk in. It wasn't on my list, and I told the PH.
Oh,
I said, I have
that
to shoot
kind
it.
of snap decision.
That
I
kind
got
of
you.
snap decision. You shoot it now.
An
and think of the
additional,
consequence.
unplanned. I got you.
That's it. Unplanned animals.
The planned ones are the ones like, yeah, we can wait till tomorrow for that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the one thing, Chuck, I don't know if you noticed, but the one impressive thing is the professional hunters there, which are your guides, they are usually within an inch. When they tell you that's a 30-inch wildebeest, you can bet the bank on it. When they tell you that's a 50-inch kudu, they're going to be within an inch or two. I mean, these guys are amazing. And so they'll tell you, when you tell them what species you want, they'll tell you whether that's a quality animal or not in your species. But the problem Chuck's talking about is the one that I encountered. I remember my first safari, I went for 5 animals. That was my list. That's what I saved for. I unfortunately had a lack of self-control and shot 12.
Oh,
So sometimes you get outside of budget when you go to South Africa.
Thank
you know?
goodness for American Express.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So the hunting, Chuck, tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, you were able to harvest, if I recall, 5 animals. Is that correct?
5 animals. Giant blue wildebeest. One of the top 5 killed on that ranch.
Yeah, record book.
Yeah, record book. A beautiful impala, 24.5 inches, I believe, also record.
Absolutely.
2 very nice warthogs, a male and a female, and a kudu that was a snap decision. 48.5-inch kudu. I just couldn't let walk.
Just kind of hard not to. Now, just out of curiosity, I mean, obviously with archery, is there tracking involved, or is that pretty much they help you do that, or is that something they take you along with that? How does that work on an Africa?
They will take you along with that. I did get to track a couple animals that I didn't make a perfect shot on. If it's not recovered within the first 100 yards, they bring in dogs and
Oh,
trackers.
wow.
Yeah,
So they make sure you find it.
They do.
That's great.
It's an incredible experience watching those dogs work.
And one of the cool things is in Africa and many other places that I go around the world, if you draw blood, you're paying for the animal. And so in our safari, and it's not the case in all of them, but in our safaris, City Bankway hunting safaris, when there's blood on the ground and when they recognize that maybe it wasn't a picture perfect shot, they're going to do everything they can to recover that animal for you. In fact, on this trip, there were 9 of us. 48 animals were harvested in 10 days. Yeah, it was quite incredible. And that's one of the cool things too, Chuck, is you get to see everybody else in your group also shooting animals when we gather at night or when we gather at lunch. You get to see all those different species, even if you're not hunting them. And so you get to see that. But we had 1 animal that wasn't recovered. And so actually, not true, 2 animals that weren't recovered out of 48. And so they were just flesh wounds that weren't going to kill the animal. But if that animal is at all vitally hit, the trackers, who don't miss anything, they see everything, will find them. And if need be, the dogs are brought in and the dogs will track down anything. And it is impressive to watch. Very impressive. Chuck, tell us about the accommodations and the food. We know the hunting was phenomenal. I mean, 48 animals in 10 days. Where do you see that happen?
Right.
But really, tell us about the accommodations and the food beyond that, because to me, that's part of the experience.
Yeah, the accommodations were excellent. I would compare it to probably around a 4-star hotel type accommodations. Shared a room with father-in-law. The rooms were comfortable, showers in every room. But the food, it was the game there tastes incredible. And maybe it's partly the experience. You know, you're there, so it tastes better, but better than any beef I've ever had. Food was incredible. The camaraderie around a fire every night.
So did they tell you what you're eating? Like tonight you're having kudu.
Yep.
Tomorrow, is it from that day's hunt that they harvest, or is it from previous hunts that they just have stored?
It's from during your hunt.
Okay.
And so it's that hunt. It could be 2 days, the animal from 2 days ago or from yesterday, and occasionally even from today, so it's good. And yeah, they label it, tell you what you're eating. It's a lot of fun. The one night we did kind of a smorgasbord of animals, and we had like 7 different species all labeled, all the back straps from all those animals, and it was good. Yeah. I have to lose weight in advance of going. I gained 9 pounds in 10 days on this trip. So, and that's pretty normal for me.
They feed you
amazing.
well.
Yeah, you don't go hungry. If you do, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Chuck, question that people are going to ask, and of course, people, because I take people there, I'm going to tell you the things that are quality, although I give you every detail that you need. But Chuck, tell us, did you feel in danger at any point being in South Africa?
There was only one instance where I felt remotely in any danger. My PH left to get his vehicle. There was a bunch of animals that they were tracking that night, and I had a warthog that was not exactly perfect hit, but we had to go track it, and it was dark. He ran back to the lodge to get his truck and a rifle, and I was sitting there by the blind and heard something coming in behind me, and it was, you're in Africa, you never know what that is. It turned out to be a water buck or something that came in. I turned around and he spooked off, but kind of had me a little spooked for a second.
Other than that, though, sickness, danger from people, any of those issues?
No, never.
And that's that misperception, that Africa is this place that your life's in danger and, everything's going to go astray.
Well, they made movies about it, Right. I mean, lions, stalking people.
Yeah. Well, and it can happen.
Yeah.
It can. But, a mountain lion can stalk us here, too.
That's true. That is very true.
When Chuck and I were driving over here to the studio, one of the things we were talking about is I can be in the woods all day long hunting mule deer and elk and never think about a mountain lion and never think about a bear. The moment I start hunting them, my mind instantly turns on. Adrenaline turns on, and I start thinking about, oh no,
where are they?
Bear and mountain lion.
Yeah.
Where are they? So it's interesting. Chuck, any recommendations for any of our listeners about planning a hunt with Journey Hunts, in particular to Africa?
If you have a desire to go, I would highly suggest contacting Matt at Journey Hunts. Top-notch outfit. He worked with me throughout the whole process, getting airline tickets, getting there. He traveled with me. I mean, it was just an incredible experience. Made sure I was in the right places at the right times, and even if we had to stall a plane, I think he would have jumped in front of it to stop it.
We did do a little running in Qatar. I'll tell you that. We ran through the airport twice.
We did.
So
very cool. Well, I'll tell you, it's certainly has rejuvenated my thoughts of going to Africa, and I think it answered a lot of questions that you just don't know. And first, I would say congratulations on your hunt, a very successful one.
Thank you.
Even that snap decision maybe cost you a little bit more, but every cent and second of it was worth. I think it wasn't.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
if you want to go to Africa, folks, or anywhere else, check out www.JourneyHunts.com, and please send us your questions for Ty and I at matt@JourneyHunts.com, and I guarantee you we'll put you in some great situations around the globe.
And join us next week for another round of Outdoor Journey, where life takes you outdoors.
This is the Outdoor Journey Show, where life takes you outdoors. The Outdoor Journey Show with Matt Gatus and Ty Morgan, brought to you by Journey Hunts and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.